Hey y'all, welcome back to Mountain Murders. This is our offbeat / midweek episode.
It is.
How you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Not bad. So starting this week, Dylan, offbeat, our midweek show, we'll be making a transition. We're going to be covering true crime and current events on this midweek episode. So if you like the content you've been getting on Offbeat, make sure you download our podcast, Batshit Crazy.
Yes, that's the new home for the weird.
Yeah, that's where we're going to be covering the strange, unusual, conspiracy theories, all the content you've come to enjoy from Mountain Murders. So
Yes.
Batshit Crazy. And this will offer us a chance to kind of cut loose there. It's a completely different type of podcast than Mountain Murders. And we'll stick to the current events, true crime news, midweek. That gives us a little chance to kind of goof off a bit, too. I like to see your reaction to some of these true crime stories, Dylan.
Yeah, I can spread my little wings, my little weird wings.
And by the way, I'm Heather,
And I'm
in
Dylan.
case you didn't know.
Yeah. Oh, I can't wait.
How have you been, Dylan? We've had like a wild couple of days here.
Well, yeah, we have some electricians doing a pretty major operation in our house, changing out the heart of the electricity.
Yeah, can we talk about the fact that this house, it seems like the electricity is from when they actually created electricity like a billion years ago?
Well, in the electrician's estimate, it's about 60 years old.
Is it?
Yeah, the wiring and
I
such.
thought it might be older than that, but okay.
Yeah, I think it's 40s, 1940s is what I get out of this house.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had like the old style fuse box with the round, are they glass fuses?
Yup.
Yeah.
Yup.
Wiring's all crazy.
Yeah, the wiring's old as dirt.
One of the electricians cut a giant hole in the wall, and I was really hoping we would find a stash of cash. Like someone decided to bury their jar of pennies in my wall or something, but it didn't happen.
We didn't find anything cool back there.
Nothing.
Nothing.
But if you need a place to hide some shit,
Yeah, if you do need to stash
Hit
something
us
for
up.
a little while, we will charge you a little bit of rent.
yeah, hit us up.
And I'm not above lying to authorities, as long as it's not about murder or rape
Okay.
or molestation.
All right.
But other crimes I'll lie about.
Like easy crimes.
Yeah.
Small crimes.
Victimless crimes.
Like marijuana-related crimes.
Oh, my God.
Money laundering crimes. I've been
Yes.
watching Ozark again.
Yes. We do have plenty of room in our wall for cartel money. So
Okay.
if anybody knows anybody, just let them, have them holla.
Okay. That's enough. We have to wrap this up, and
Well, let's do it.
we'll discuss that offline.
Yeah, hit up my Gmail.
Oh, Dylan, yeah. So betwixt that and the cold snap we've had here in Western North Carolina, it's been an interesting week. I'm not a cold weather person, and I cannot wait for sunshine and warm weather again.
It is almost upon us, but enough about our woes. What else have you found out there in the Ethernet?
Okay, well, a few things to get us started, Dylan. Are you ready to talk about Punxsutawney Phil?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
He saw his shadow and declared 6 more weeks of winter. How unfortunate for us.
I do not care for that groundhog.
This no, I'm just kidding. Maybe he's wearing leather, but he's a legendary weather prognosticator.
So what's the deal? Does he go in his house or not go in his house? What does he do?
Well, he emerged from his burrow Wednesday morning, this very morning, Dylan, at 7:25 a.m. and saw his shadow, which means 6 more weeks of winter. Of course, this anticipated prediction drew thousands of onlookers to the small western Pennsylvania town known as Punxsutawney.
You know what I think? I have a conspiracy theory.
What?
I think the real Punxsutawney Phil died years ago, and this is an imposter.
Oh my gosh, like when your kid goes away to dad's or on vacation and their goldfish dies and you replace it with a different goldfish.
And they're none the wiser.
You think they're really doing that? It's not the same groundhog?
Well,
It's not the same whistle pig?
I don't know
How
they've
dare
done
they?
that, but I do know if Phil did die all of a sudden, they probably would put an imposter in his place.
Well, you're stupid. Of course they have. Of course this is a fucking different groundhog every year. What are you doing?
What is it real? Oh, I thought we were going off of the intelligence of the one groundhog.
Oh my
Is it
gosh.
just like a
So
thing
what are
they
you saying?
do?
You really believe that it's been the same groundhog for 60 years?
Yeah. Yeah, he's got a little gray beard and he walks with a cane. But he
Okay.
still has a good disposition to be as old as he
All
is.
right. Well, of course, Phil isn't the only forecaster out there. AccuWeather actually said they have a spring forecast as well, and may not be the same as Punxsutawney's Phil or
Oh.
Punxsutawney Phil. So you might want to check that out.
Well, they're just using computers and models and all the information that mankind's ever gathered about weather patterns. So I don't trust them. I trust the groundhog and his shadow.
You do?
Yup.
Okay. Here is a case that I know a lot of true crime aficionados are very interested in doing, and that is the death of Kendrick Johnson. Are you familiar with this case?
A little bit.
He is a young man, Georgia area is where this took place, Valdosta County, actually. 17-year-old Kendrick Johnson was found deceased and like wrapped up in a mat, like in a gymnasium at his high school.
Okay.
And a lot of folks have speculated and believe that his death was a murder. And there's been like a conspiracy cover-up type of thing.
Well, how else do you get wrapped up in mats after you're dead? You don't do that to yourself, right?
Well, there's been a lot of investigation into this case, and it seems like it always goes back to it being a weird accident.
So, like he accidentally got rolled up in the mats and suffocated?
Or somehow fell sort of head first in it because they were rolled up and kind of standing, it seems.
Okay.
And that maybe he tried to reach, like he dropped something, maybe tried to reach in there or just sort of trip, but somehow ended up like getting stuck down in this mat.
I guess it's possible. I mean, if there's no clear signs of foul play on his body and things like that, I mean, I don't know what to think.
Well, here's the latest in the case, Dylan. The Valdosta County Sheriff has offered $500,000, so $500,000 of his own money in response to the like negative attention that has poured in about a recent report regarding the 2013 death of Kendrick Johnson. So there's been years of controversy, conspiracy surrounding Johnson's death. The sheriff of Lowndes County, I'm not saying that right, has actually reopened the case last year and poured over boxes and boxes of documents. There's a lot of information in this case. And so Ashley Polk, the sheriff, said, I wanted to dispel rumors and accusations. We want to tell the truth. That's why we're reopening this case. So last week, the Sheriff's Department issued a 16-page report stating once again that there's no evidence to show that anyone else was responsible for Johnson's death. And it has again been described as a weird accident. Now, a lot of questions began pouring in January 11th, 2013, the moment they found the young man inside a rolled-up wrestling mat. And like I said, Dylan, it was like standing kind of upright in the corner of this gym. He was wearing sock-covered feet. They were sticking out, and there was blood found on the shoe that was located nearby. So for years, Johnson's mother, her name is Jacqueline, and her family have fought for answers that they say have never come. When authorities ruled the death accidental, they theorized that he had fallen into that opening at the center of the mat and suffocated. The Johnson family conducted an independent autopsy of their own, and they determined he was a victim of foul play with this independent autopsy.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I don't know what was does it say the findings of the independent autopsy?
Well, I'm going to get into that a little bit here. So Sheriff Polk, now he was not in office at the time of Johnson's death, decided to pour over like 17 boxes of evidence in hopes that they would be able to close this case because it has really divided this town. But of course, we're seeing that Kendrick Johnson's parents, they don't agree with this decision. So on Saturday, Jacqueline and her family gathered in downtown Valdosta, and they were going to protest the findings of this report. She's like, they can always try and do what they want. I'm going to stay in their face. So on Monday, the sheriff decided to offer up his own money as a reward to anyone who could provide any information leading to the arrest. So after the release of my synopsis, quote, of the federal files on the Kendrick Johnson case, his parents have called me a liar and continue to state that Kendrick was murdered. Because of these statements, I am personally, with my own funds, offering a reward of $500,000 to anyone who comes forward with information that results in the arrest or conviction of a person for the alleged murder of Kendrick Johnson at the high school. So the sheriff is putting up his own money. I mean, talk about putting your money where your mouth is.
Well,
He's, pretty certain that this was an accident.
well, it sounds that way, and that he is putting his own money, some skin in the game there. And I guess in an attempt, I guess he figures at that amount of money, if someone does know something, that they very well would come forward to claim that reward. And it's interesting. I guess he that shows that he strongly believes that it was accidental, not foul play, and he's doing what he can to, prove that. That's pretty interesting.
Now, I have a copy of the autopsy report that his family had ordered, and they believe the cause of death, according to the pathological findings, is that there was blunt force trauma to the right neck involving the right mandible and soft tissues, including the area of the carotid body, consistent with inflicted injury. So there was blunt force trauma, right anterolateral thorax, an unexplained apparent non-accidental blunt force trauma. Further investigation is indicated to determine the etiology of these injuries. And this is the pathologist signed William R. Anderson. So this is the private autopsy his parents requested. And they believe that it was a blunt force trauma.
Well, it's sometimes I wonder when people get in the independent. I wish a third objective pathologist, not connected to the county or, the son's family or the poor guy's family, because like an objective view of this. Because a lot of times, I just wonder, because often when people employ a private, an autopsy by a private person for them, they kind of find stuff to support what they thought. You know what I'm saying? It seems very seldom do I hear we got this private autopsy and it didn't find anything and it's just like they said it was, right? So I kind of sometimes wonder if people are not as objective when they're being, compensated directly by the party they're looking at the autopsy for. Is that convoluted? Do you know what I mean?
No, I know exactly what you're saying.
Yeah, because like Henry
Like you get what you pay for. So if you're paying for a private autopsy, maybe they're going to kind of lean toward giving you the answers you want to hear.
Yes. And a lot of time.
And that's not to discredit this pathologist, because maybe this is actually an injury he did sustain. But maybe there was a way to explain it away. I think with a lot of these, like, sort of mysterious or weird deaths that are accidental, sometimes families can't accept that because it is so bizarre and unheard of. Like, we've never heard of a death. No, I was going to say murder, but a death where someone is, falling kind of head first down into a mat, gets stuck there, dies, right? That's
Right.
very unusual.
No, let's be honest.
Freak accident.
If our son was found stuck, in a wrestling mat with his feet sticking out, and then his shoes are over there and they have blood on them. Of course, if he's a wrestler and any kind of athlete, there's no telling when he could have bled on those shoes. You get injured, you get a nosebleed, whatever. But I don't think I would accept that. In my mind, in my true crime mind especially, I'm going to be like, no, this is weird, right? And like you're saying, it's these accidents that are just so one in a million that you could never even contemplate someone dying like that by accident. So I understand, and I don't want to discredit that pathologist, and because just as often you have the county coroner or whatever back up what the prosecutor or the sheriff thinks happened, kind of with their report. So they, there is some subjection and some what I think happened in that field. It's just the way it is.
This is a case, I've followed, I don't know all the details, but I have followed it over the years, and I've listened to multiple true crime podcasts, of course, covering the Kendrick Johnson case. There's always, it seems like I learn something new a little bit every time I listen to a podcast, depending on how in-depth, the coverage is. And I can see totally where the Johnson family feels like it's something more than an accident. But at the same time, you keep investigating and reinvestigating, and you have new eyes looking over the details and trying to figure it out. If they repeatedly are coming up with the same conclusion to the point that this guy's willing to put up $500,000
Right.
reward, like, talk about putting your money where your mouth is, it makes me think like they're pretty confident that this was indeed a freak accident.
Well, it certainly seems that way.
But I understand from an emotional point of view as a parent wanting answers and not wanting to accept that it's just this freak accident because it is so bizarre.
Yeah, I would be curious how much blood was, inside the mats when they took them apart to get them out of there. Unfortunately, or there's a lot of questions I have about the scene. It would be hard to kill someone and then roll them up in a wrestling mat, and without blood just being everywhere. If there's been blunt force trauma, because typically blunt force has an open bleeding injury associated with it, as well as fractures and stuff to the bones. So yeah, it's very interesting from a true crime perspective. I would like to know all the. I want to find out everything I can about this case now. I barely knew anything about it.
Okay, well, you definitely want to learn more, Dylan. But
Oh my gosh.
I think it'll be interesting to see over the coming weeks, months, if anyone does come forward, because that is a large sum of money.
That is, and I would say if I don't know if those were stacked by the bleachers, if there's any way he could have been up above them, but if he was to fall in the middle of that or whatever, it would. From an accident viewpoint, I could see if you did end up in that position, it would be a bad position very quickly because the pads are very thick, insulated. And you're in there head first. No one's going to hear you scream.
Suffocation.
If you're in there and the last guy out of practice or whatever, nobody comes back. And the fact his feet were kind of sticking out of the top. So if I've hidden you in these mats, that's odd to me. I feel like you'd be deeper into the mats, and I wouldn't want any part of your body sticking out. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, well, I understand exactly what you're saying.
So wow, it's very curious. It's a very, very curious case.
Here's another one, Dylan, that I find that we should talk about because I am a huge fan of HBO's The Wire.
Oh man, it's the best.
I think that's like the best show. And I was a big fan of Boardwalk Empire also. And the Vice show that Michael K. Williams hosted about the black market.
Yeah, I think it was called Black Market.
So this brings us to actor Michael K. Williams. Was on The Wire. He was Omar, probably one of the best and most complex characters ever written for television. Amazing. This guy was such a phenomenal actor. I fucking loved him as Chalky White. Like, he's phenomenal. And it was really sad because he died September 6th of last year, an accidental fentanyl overdose.
That's
we
so
were pretty
sad.
devastated because we really love this guy. He was found in his Brooklyn apartment, and authorities have actually arrested a group of men in connection with his untimely death, Dylan.
No, okay. I already have questions, but I'm just going to listen.
Well, a New York federal court announced a narcotics conspiracy charges against these 4 members of a drug trafficking organization that were believed to have played a role in selling lethal fentanyl-laced heroin to Williams.
Okay, that's what I thought. They provided him with the drug that led to his death.
This is happening quite a bit as this opioid addiction rages out of control. Of course, fentanyl, very dangerous narcotic drug. People are cutting it into the heroin, the cocaine,
Everything.
a lot of stuff. Marijuana.
They say they're lacing the
scary.
marijuana with it. You get a pill. Who knows if it's really a Percocet, if that's your thing, or if it's fentanyl. You have these fake. We've actually seen billboards that say one fake pill can kill you. We've seen that in multiple states.
I watched a very interesting documentary where this, she's a reporter. She went to Mexico and was able to interview these cartel members who are making fake fentanyl.
Yeah.
And the process of that, and then the process of smuggling it into the United States, and how much money is being made off this fake fentanyl, and it's really fucking scary.
Yeah, I don't get it. The whole fentanyl thing doesn't make sense to me. I don't know why. I know that cartel members and people like high-level drug traffickers, they don't care about what happens to the people who use the drugs, but this fentanyl is something different because it is so deadly it's not if, it's when you come into contact with it, you're likely going to die. It doesn't make sense to put that in your product because your customers are going to be scared off and either die off or not want to use your product anymore. So I'm not sure what's going on with that.
39-year-old Irvin Cartagena, 57-year-old Hector Robles, Luis Cruz, who's 56, and Carlos Maki, who's 70, are all charged with this conspiracy. I will learn to speak today, to distribute and possess with intent to distribute fentanyl analog, fentanyl, and heroin. So if they are found guilty, they could receive prison sentences between 5 to 40 years.
Okay, do you think that's a good deterrent? Because like I said, these type of people don't care what happens anyway. They don't care about the crime or what happens to the community or what happens to the user already. But I
think it will do some good for these street level dealers to think twice about, is this something I want to be doing?
Well, there's that, and very well, some people say this is not worth it. I don't want to get in that kind of trouble, and maybe stop. But I think if anything, it's just one more crime they can charge them with to give them serious prison time and get them off the street.
Well, Cartagena, who was allegedly seen on a surveillance video, Dylan, completing this drug transaction with Williams on a Brooklyn sidewalk, will also face an additional charge of causing the actor's death in connection with the narcotics conspiracy. So if he is convicted on this more severe charge, he could also face a separate prison sentence of 20 years to life.
Oh, so basically they could get him for at least manslaughter or something like that, right?
In a video, the U.S. District Attorney that is charging these folks, his name is Damian Williams, no relation to the actor, said that his office is going to continue to hold accountable the dealers who push this poison, exploit addiction, and cause senseless death. Now, this article comes to us via people.com. I have mixed feelings in some ways about this. I mean, I do feel like if you start charging drug dealers for these deaths, that will maybe cause folks to pause for a moment and think twice about, is this a career avenue I want to pursue? Right?
Or get them off the street for longer.
They're not selling drugs. But at the same time, like, no one's forcing you to go buy drugs. So when you're buying drugs, that is, you have to accept some personal responsibility, right? And I don't think anybody goes and buys a bag of heroin thinking this is going to kill me today. But you are choosing to use that with no idea what's in it.
It's true.
Right?
It's true. That's
so every time you are taking a drug that you are not, you have no idea where it came from, what's in it, who manufactured it. I mean, you're taking your life into your own hands. So at what point does personal responsibility come into play? Which really seems to be a narrative that no one pushes these days, is like the personal responsibility or accountability for your own actions kind of thing, regardless of whether it's addiction or whatever. I don't know. We as a society have just gotten so far away from accepting any kind of blame for ourselves or our actions. We always want to blame someone else. And I just think that is, I feel like that's detrimental to our society as a whole, this lack of personal responsibility.
Well, yeah. I mean, honestly, this right here proves my case when my point of when I say legalize everything, provide people with clean, safe product, and also ramp up the availability of therapy, some rehabs, access to rehabs, and all that. And I think you would save a lot more lives. And you would certainly get rid of these accidental overdoses because it would be clean, lab-tested, company-produced product. But I know that's so foreign of a thought to most people. But you remove all the crime out of the neighborhood because, this person's getting the drug they want now, high quality, clean, safe as heroin can be. And but you also at the same time try to get them to stop taking it, with access to clinical help. So I don't know. I don't know what the answer is, but unfortunately for every one of those people that they lock up, there's 10 people willing to fill the power vacuum created. So it's like a hydra. You cut one head off, 2 heads grow. So, I mean, this really is not going to work to really stop people using drugs.
Well, we've seen the war on drugs doesn't work at all. So it's time to do something completely different. And yes, what you are proposing is considered outrageous by many. Like, how dare you enable these folks and whatever. And that's fine. People can be entitled to that opinion.
No.
But I guess the way I look at it is, we've done this war on drugs bullshit for, 40, 50 years?
Plus.
It's not working. It's just filling up the jails, right? We're not being productive. People are still struggling while we're allowing pharmaceutical companies to push their fucking deadly drugs,
Well,
opioids, and whatever. So, I think it's time to just reevaluate as a society the way we're treating drug addiction. It should be a public health issue. It should not be a criminal justice issue. And we got to think of new and innovative ways to handle it.
Yeah, I think that'd be an important first step.
So thinking outside the box.
I was talking to someone the other day.
Absolutely.
We were near an ABC store, and I was just saw someone go in. It was obvious this person probably comes there every day, and they're in the grips of alcoholism. I'm sorry, maybe I'm being judgy, but they did not look healthy. They looked, horribly sick, but they're still going there to get that bottle of liquor.
Well, that's not judgmental. That's just an observation, right?
Well, yeah, and maybe I'm making some assumptions about everything else, but hey, I've been around it. I've seen it all my life. I know what it looks like, and my sister, unfortunately, drank herself to death and made that decision to continue to do it. But you can tell me I can't smoke a joint, right? I can't smoke a joint and have a regular job and all this, but I can go to the ABC store every day and buy a fifth of or a liter of liquor.
Yeah.
And they willingly sell it. And I've had a friend who worked at the ABC store, and he's talking about how sad it was. It's one thing if you're coming in there and you see a group of friends, they're going to get, some drinks and have some drinks and have fun. That you see that. But you also have these daily people that come in every day to get their drug of choice. And they just continue to give it to them as they can see that they're dying as they come in there day after day. And I just don't understand those. That's a conflicting thought in my head. If you're telling me I can't do a line of cocaine or, get some marijuana because of my safety, you're looking out for me, but you run and stock the ABC store, and I can get that cheaper than any of these other drugs.
Well, and we live in a state where the ABC store is the alcohol, what is it? The alcohol
board,
something. I don't know. Anyway, they oversee the sales of alcohol. The state does.
It's a complete monopoly.
There's a price fix set, and that's the price across the state.
It's the only place you can get it.
I mean, capitalism doesn't come into play at all. You can't get sales. You can't get private businesses selling. So basically, you have the state, and this is, of course, dates back to prohibition shit. But you've got the state running this and profiting off of killing people, right?
Yes.
But yet, yes, we can't have legal marijuana.
It doesn't add up for me.
I don't know too many marijuana addicts. I don't know any potheads who are out driving around killing people. I'm just saying.
It's true. And I say, and we'll move on, that you're exactly right. They're profiting off of people and knowing that it's unhealthy and knowing that alcohol is oftentimes tied to 50% or more murders.
They need to abolish this system here in the state, and it needs to be privatized. And the state should not have their hands in dealing with alcohol.
No.
In the state, period.
Yeah.
That's my opinion.
Damn it, man.
Fuck, I should run for governor.
Yeah.
Well, Dylan, I don't know if it's like a more recent thing or because we're more globally connected now, but I feel like in the last 20 years, students being sexually abused by teachers, especially when it's female teachers, is much more prevalent in the news than when we were growing up. And I'm not sure if it's just a new thing or if it's always happened. We just didn't know about it.
I think it's always happened. We just didn't know every time it happened.
I mean, of course, the Mary Kay Letourneau case was huge when we were young, and really kind of sparked the media catching on to this salacious, female teachers seducing students. And they almost kind of make it sound gross. Lucky, it's they never point out this woman's a fucking predator.
That's a molester.
They always are oh yeah, and show a mugshot of her where she's looking hot or something. I don't know. It's weird.
No, you're hitting the nail on the head. The hotter she is, the more widely covered the story will be, and the more times you'll hear somebody say some dumb shit like, "Oh, I wish I had teachers like that when I was in school." And when I hear people say that in person, I'm like, "What? You mean someone who's going to molest you?" Because that you take a 12, 13, 14-year-old boy, that's in an adult, that's child molestation, okay? There's no way around it. It's not cool. It's not okay. You have a person in power preying on someone who is in their, in their atmosphere, in their, orbit or whatever you want to call it. And it's wrong. It's no different than a preacher does it to, actually, it's more wrong. Okay. A preacher and a teacher, they happen to rhyme. That's awesome. Are in positions of power, and they use that authority in a way to abuse these children and get them scared to talk or whatever. And it's fucking disgusting. And there's nothing cool about it. And I'm not going to high-five my kid, my son, if this had happened when he was younger. I'm going to go find the piece of shit that molested my child, and we're going to do something about it. Oh, that gets my blood a-boiling.
Okay, well, according to the Joplin Globe, Bailey Turner was 26 years old, and she was arrested weeks after she allegedly had sexual intercourse with a male student back in January of 2019. Now, the state of Missouri has decided to drop those charges in light of Turner marrying her alleged victim.
Okay.
Now, this former student's name has not been released, nor their age, so I'm not exactly sure. They may not be a minor anymore.
Well, it sounds like they passed the age of consent, whatever state that is.
Well, here's the thing. In the state of Missouri, marriage applicants must be 18 years old unless they have a parent's consent, in which case you can marry as young as 16.
I figured that's
a lot
what it was.
Of states, right?
Yeah.
However, Missouri passed a bill in 2018 where an applicant must be 18 if the other party is over 21, which Turner is.
Okay.
So that makes me assume
this student reached the age of 18.
Is an adult now. The assistant prosecutor, Nate Daly, said because of spousal privilege, where married partners are not compelled to testify against one another, the state would face challenges in securing a conviction against Turner. Now, she admitted to having sex with the student at a residence, and then she resigned from her position as a first-year English teacher at Sarcoxy High School. The Sarcoxy School Board also petitioned to have her teaching license removed, and she did later surrender her license.
Well, hey, you can't blame this might piss some people off, but they have no case now. Their case was getting this witness, this victim. I'm sure it revolved around them testifying or them not standing up in court and saying, hey, I'm recanting all my previous statements. Because
well,
if
here's
that happens,
a thought,
there's no case.
You dumbass prosecutor. How about don't wait fucking 2 years to take this to trial? How about in a sex crimes case, you get your little ass working and you get it through the fucking court system instead of jacking off for 2 years, and then this person's turned 18 and oh, well, now we can't do anything about it.
That's a great point.
Like, do your fucking job. Protect our children. Make this a priority. How about that?
Yeah, the abuse cases and things involving children should be fast-tracked.
I would drop the mic, but it would just make too much noise.
Oh, my God, I agree with you. Why are rape kits sitting all around the country untested?
It's bullshit.
When we have CODIS and all these DNA profiles online that we can compare them to.
So we got to lock up all the dangerous dope smokers sitting at home on their couch, eating Lucky Charms and watching Squidbillies.
That's why you'll never win the war on drugs if you're locking up people who use drugs. A certain amount of people are going to use the drug of their choice till they die. You have to come to that conclusion. Hopefully your loved one's not one of those people. And I've used drugs. This does not come down from the ivory tower.
Well, I'm Tommy Chung.
I'm going
to be smoking till I die, bro.
I've chose not to use the drugs because it was costing too much for my life.
Look, I'm a stoner.
And
I like it, and I'm not going to stop. It's the only way I can function without murdering people.
We got to leave room in the jails for these rapey, molesty pieces of shit, male, female, that prey on our kids, that prey on our loved ones, our women, our sisters, our mothers.
We need to take to the streets,
Jesus.
and we need to be protesting this, and we should be reaching out to our politicians and our legislators that you will start making this a fucking priority or you will not be elected. Oh, you want to be the district attorney in my county? Then you need to start fucking charging these fuckers. Then you want to be a judge? Then I want to see you be tough on sex crimes. Right?
Yes.
Like, why are we not doing this as a society?
Oh my God.
Because we're lazy. We're fucking complacent. Now, according to the Globe, Turner was one of 6 teachers out of Southwest Missouri charged with sexually abusing students in recent years.
My God.
6 teachers in this small area of the state? That's unacceptable.
And it's scary. I mean, is that a snapshot of a bigger issue nationwide?
And last December, a full-time substitute named J.C. Bain Collins was accused of having sex with a male student at his house when parents were away. In November of this last year, a 42-year-old middle school teacher was sentenced to 20 years in prison for having sex with a 13-year-old victim.
Thank God he got 20 years. That's amazing.
I'm just saying. I mean,
No, I'm
obviously
saying.
there is a problem, and this needs to be addressed.
Yeah, we saw one teacher assistant in South Carolina. She'd started working there, 2 days ago or something, and was already sending nudes or getting nudes from a male student who was around the age of 14 or 15. I'm like, what? So did you get this job just so you could have access to these kids? Because that's what these monsters do.
It's so strange,
and they've always
surreal
done it.
and just gross, and we need to do something about it.
What woman? I mean, we know the man's just. We've talked about the monster men.
That's misandry Dylan.
What fucking woman needs to have sex with some kid? I mean, what is wrong? And this is not. I'm not singling women out. I mean, the men perpetrators
So you're just saying
are
that you
disgusting. I just
have
don't get it.
higher expectations for women, is what you're saying.
No, okay. Let me rephrase. Let me back this all the way up.
Because I'm just going to float it out
Look,
there. I
what-
mean, men are kind of gross.
Men
And
are
I feel like
gross.
I can say that. I spent time in the military. Spent a lot of time around men.
So are you saying there should be a higher standard? It
And they're kind of
surprises you more when it's a woman?
I will say it does.
Okay.
I will say it does, right? And so maybe that's I'm not being fair to the genders. I'm not giving gender equality in this situation. But yeah, I do find it a little more surprising when it's a woman committing the crime.
Okay, I'm gonna repackage my statement to what adult person
Exactly.
feels the need to have sex with a child. I mean, I don't, and we know what it is. We've in the stories we've covered, they're oftentimes immature. The people their own age don't take them seriously for whatever reason. You'll have the guys or the girl, they still live at home with mom and dad at around 30 years old. They've never gotten anything going on in their own personal life as far as adult friends, good, healthy adult relationships. And it's no different than when I see someone who hangs out with like their kids' friends and shit to be cool. Because, come on, man. Come on, person.
Are we done like making people angry with our broad statements?
Well, I don't know if it makes them angry or not. And if it does, I apologize. But just think about it. Think about what we're saying.
Look, dudes. Look, guys.
Guys are gross.
I like our male listeners, but you know dudes are grody, right? We all know. You work with dudes, they're grody. Men are gross. Men can be gross. I mean, women can be gross too, right? But as a whole, I think we're more accustomed to seeing these predators come from the male gender.
Man, I always see a creep out the bar creeping out all the women. You can just tell by his body language.
Dude, I had a fucking creep me out last night.
Yeah, but you don't all. I've seen creepy women too, who are all handsy and like way coming on to somebody who has no interest in them, and that's gross too. But I see that way less often. I always see the creep guy. So either women are better at hiding it, or men are just a little grosser and creepier, more gross and creepy than women.
So we went out last night
We did.
with your son.
We did.
Who was of age, right? We may or may not have had some drinks. I was not even feeling it. I had little tiny beers and they weren't doing anything to me, Dylan.
Well, it's because,
Okay.
yeah, you didn't have enough, I guess.
Okay. So I'm sitting at the bar. You fellas go outside. You're outside doing whatever it is that you do outside.
Was smoking a cigarette.
Whatevs. So I'm sitting at the bar. I'm like nursing my little tiny, like, weird goblet of beer, right? Like on my phone, checking in. My daughter was spending the night with somebody. Everything okay? That kind of stuff. And I'm just like chilling. The music's playing. I'm people watching. And this guy who's been going around sort of harassing everyone in the bar, like he's just desperate for someone to talk to. He was weird. He gave me bad energy, walks over, and my first thought was like, please don't fucking talk to me. Because I could just tell. He's like one of those stage 5 clingers.
Right.
That no matter how much I ignore him, he's still going to fucking talk my ear off. And I just don't like these people.
Yeah, but what's
'Cause
crazy
I don't like
is,
to be bothered. I'm antisocial. I'm not here to talk to you. If I want to talk to you, I will. But I'm not trying to have a fucking conversation. I'm just trying to look at my little beer here and ignore you. So he's just going on and on and on. Like, hey, oh. Then the moron, okay, this was the kicker. Because the guy was stupid. And I was just like, like kind of being a bitch to him. He did not get it. Like, he did not get that this female does not want to have any fucking conversation with him.
Okay.
I mean, at one point, I almost like literally turned my back to the guy, and he's still fucking talking to me. So this bar where we were hanging out is kind of known for having oddities. And if you're in Asheville, you may know where we're talking about because it has an oddity in the name kind of thing, right? I won't mention it. But we're sitting at the bar. There are these two oddities, like wet specimen jars of snakes sitting near me, which is probably the closest I've ever been to a snake in my whole life. So you should be proud of me. I'm even fucking trying to not make eye contact with this dude, and I'm looking at the fucking snake. So if I'm looking at the snake, you know I don't want to talk to this guy, right?
No, you don't want to look at a snake either.
No, but I would rather look at the snake than this dorky dude. And then he looks at me and says, okay, and he wasn't from here, and he had an accent. He wasn't from here. He was like, yeah, what is that in that jar or whatever? And I was like, it's a snake. And he goes, people in the South eat pickled snake? Is that a thing?
Yeah, you moron.
Yeah, I was just like, oh, get away from me.
So this guy will do anything to get you talking.
To ask me about eating pickled snake in the South. Yes, sir, we do. So you might want to go the fuck away. Because we're about to open the jar and have some pickled snake. I mean, what the fuck? Is he really this stupid? Or was he so desperate for conversation? This is like how he was approaching it.
He was lame. He was sitting at
so weird.
Mine and my son's drink, and all our stuff was right there beside Heather at this little tiny tight space in the bar. And I come in, this guy's sitting on a stool right directly beside Heather, and I'm just like, okay. So I like grabbed my drink and took it to the other side. He's like, oh sorry. I'm like, bro, this is obviously some people's seat. This woman obviously doesn't want to talk to you. Move the fuck on. And then he went and bothered someone else.
Yeah, and he was all like leaning in at your son being all weird.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure what exactly, but your son was just like, that guy's a weird creep. And then he was like creeping on somebody else across the, I don't know.
All right.
It was a lot.
Okay.
But I don't like that.
Where are we going?
I just want to be left the fuck alone. I don't want to be approached. Don't try to approach me. I don't understand this idea of like, I'm going to talk to every stranger in the bar. Like, I don't want to talk to you. And I just don't like people approaching me, and especially when they don't take a fucking hint.
Right.
If I try to strike up a conversation with someone and they completely are just staring at me like, shut the fuck up, I'm just going to move on.
Yeah. It's called take a hint, bro.
I don't get it.
Okay.
Now, this is interesting, Dylan. Did you ever watch the television show Soul Train?
Yeah.
God, I fucking loved Soul Train. I love the reruns of Soul Train. I love the fashion on Soul Train. I love disco. I wish it would come back. Well, you know, Don Cornelius, he was the former host and creator of Soul Train. He's actually been accused of locking up and violently sexually abusing 2 Playboy bunnies decades ago.
Oh, wow. I did not know that.
A former bunny mother, PJ Maston.
What?
A bunny mother?
The mother of a bunny?
No. They're like, you know, work alongside Hefner and like...
Oh, so she's like on the inside click group?
Yeah, like she sort of keeps the bunnies scheduled and what they need to do. It's called a bunny mother, Dylan. Just fucking go with it.
Okay,
Quit
I got you.
Trying to cock block my
I'm not.
here.
I got you.
Okay, so she's like a former bunny mother. She made these allegations against the TV producer. Now, he died in 2012. So it's not like the guy can come out and defend himself. On Monday's episode of Secrets of Playboy, which is a new A&E docuseries that explores the darker side of Playboy, and it's told by the women who worked alongside Hugh Hefner, and they're exposing a lot of secretive stuff, like massive cover-ups that never hit the press.
Oh, I'm sure there's some dirt around the Playboy Mansion.
So this Cornelius thing, Maston says, is probably the most horrific story ever heard at Playboy. Now, according to Maston, Cornelius was a Playboy VIP, very familiar face around the Playboy Mansion, known to the bunnies, to the models. And one night at a dance club in Hollywood, where the bunnies would often hang out, Cornelius spotted 2 new recruits and invited them to join the bar's VIP area. Later that evening, he allegedly asked these baby bunnies, as they were called, if they wanted to go back to his house where he was going to throw a party. So the 2 girls get in his Rolls Royce, they go up to his mansion, and they weren't heard from for 3 days. So Maston's like, we couldn't figure out where they were, what was going on. I mean, we were obviously very concerned.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So there's this whole 3 days of no call, no show with these bunnies, when finally one of them calls Maston at the Playboy Mansion, saying that she and this other young woman had been held at Cornelius's house, and this was the first time she was able to get free enough or get out to make a phone call.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so the head of security, a guy named Joe Piestro, went to pick them up and found them all bloodied, battered, drugged.
That's not good.
No. So these models were not named in the docuseries, but they had been kept in separate rooms where they were locked up at this man's house. They were tied up, bound. Wooden objects were used to sodomize one of the women. The other female could hear her friend, her coworker, being brutalized. I mean, it was horrible.
Well, that sounds terrible. And if this is true, it's horrible.
Well, now Cornelius, his son, has come out and said that it's an unbelievable story without any proof and that it's just salaciousness.
Well, I mean, the thing is, and if this happened, you had 2 victims, and they are still alive. And so if this needs to be aired out in public to make them feel better, they have every right to do that. And it doesn't matter about who thinks it's right, friends, leftover family from the perpetrator, the alleged perpetrator who's dead now. So they have every right to do this, because some people would say, why bother, right? Why bother? He's already dead. He can't, A, defend himself. He can't be held or B, be held accountable for his actions. But they have every right to.
But stories matter.
No, stories matter.
These victims' voices need to be heard.
And if it needs to be done in the public area to make them feel better or get something out of this, they have every right. So this is tricky. But if it's true, it's horrible. And Don Cornelius is a piece of shit.
Well, now, according
but if it's not true,
to this, the police were not notified in accordance with the Playboy policy. The company's security team was going to handle the matter internally and told the bunnies, like, you need to keep quiet and we are not going to talk to the press about this.
Well, see, fuck the press, but I, as a victim, have a right to talk to authorities if I want to. So that's unfortunate. It went that route, and that's why, if this happened, why we never heard of it and nothing was done.
Well, Cornelius was never investigated for this sexual assault allegation against these Playboy bunnies, but he was convicted in 2008 on some unrelated domestic violence charges. So it does seem like, he's already committed a violent act against a woman in a domestic violence situation. Maybe it's not so far-fetched of a story, right?
Well, yeah.
See what he's capable of.
If he truly put his hands on a woman and all that, that's not good. That's a sign of violence towards women. And if you're doing it to the person you live with, you most certainly would do it to strangers, right? Or maybe even worse.
Well, Maston has publicly stated that this was so outrageous, it made her so angry because no charges were filed against Don Cornelius, and Hef did not suspend his VIP privileges, and that Cornelius was back in the club the next week.
See, that's the thing. You're handling it internally. No, you're not doing anything. What you're doing is covering up.
Well, she said, quote, these young girls, what they went through, nobody has any idea. And then she's crying as she's making the statement. She says, my job was to pick up the pieces. I had to pick up the pieces of these kids. They were kids. Because most of these baby bunnies are 18, 19-year-old girls.
Yeah. And that... using a foreign object on a woman is, I think that's that's high up there on my deviant list.
Yes.
It's very strange. I'm not trying to king shame. If you want to put an inanimate object in yourself, but if you're
an assault,
yes,
or something that is not consensual,
yes,
yeah,
that's a whole different story.
Is that a kitty?
It's kitties come to see us.
Oh, hey, we have a kitty in the podcast studio.
Go over there, kitty.
Okay.
Yes, but that's very high on my deviant checklist is assaulting someone with a foreign object. Not that it's okay, better if it's not a foreign object, but it's just wanting to see that or do that to a person.
Well, it's just another layer of depravity in an assault.
And degrading.
Mm-hmm.
And it's almost like you're intentionally trying to completely wreck their mental health and their dignity. And any assault's horrible. So I'm not trying to categorize
Well, so this
that.
episode of Secrets of Playboy, they actually had a disclaimer on the screen reminding viewers that the majority of these allegations have not been the subject of criminal investigations and that they don't constitute proof of guilt.
Okay.
So something to keep in mind. Now, I have personally not been watching The Secrets of Playboy, but I've heard some about it, and I'm kind of interested, Dylan. I was thinking that it's something that I might want to check out. Again, it's on A&E. And that brings me to our next bit of discussion, Dylan, and then we're going to wrap up the episode, is that we are thinking of toying around with the Spotify Green Room app.
Oh, yeah, this could be so much fun.
Where maybe we do a monthly viewing party together and we invite our listeners to join us in the Spotify Green Room, and we're going to pick a true crime documentary, like something that's related, mountain murders, something that would relate to the show, and watch this together through the Spotify Green Room app so we can all have a discussion and join in. I think that could be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Some other podcasts are doing that these days. Just trying to stay hip and relevant for all you young kids out there.
Oh, it'd be a great way to do things together with the listeners and with us in real time.
Yeah, so we're working on that. That's something that's going to come out fairly soon. And again, we've made the transition from Offbeat. No longer going to be covering the spooky, weird, strange, unusual, bizarre conspiracy theories. We'll be covering true crime news, having discussions about that. And all of the other content you've enjoyed each week is going to be moved to Batshit Crazy, which is our second podcast. We're going to go back into podcasting on that particular show, talking about all those weird things.
And this for real, though.
It is for real.
This is for real, for real.
You got to check it out.
Yup.
Batshit Crazy.
Yeah, it's spelled just
Can't
like
get enough
that.
of Heather and Dylan. You'll have it. We'll be all up in your ear holes every day of the week.
And we'll be talking about possibly mostly fake things, so we can go all out.
2022 is all about reworking the show, bringing you more content, maybe bringing in a new couple podcasts for you. We got a lot in the works.
Yeah, we're talking about schedules and all kinds of stuff. It's crazy.
Yeah, we're getting professional with it, y'all. It's going to be scary.
Oh, my God.
All right. Well, we hope you had a great week. Enjoy this episode and join us coming up Sunday when we drop a new Mountain Murders. It's a good case. It was requested by someone, and I think it's something people will be interested in.
Yeah, it's a great story.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a big one.
Join us for that. If you want to send us an email, we are collecting listener stories. That is mountainmurderspodcast@gmail.com. So feel free to shoot us an email. Again, have a great week. Dylan, I want you to stay groovy.
Oh, I'm going to stay golden.
You're like the grooviest pony boy I know.
Thank you.